Ambassador Velcrath of the Galactic Federation sat in the observation room and watched the video feed with growing confusion. His four eyes blinked at different times as his brain tried to process what he was seeing. The other council members around the circular table were equally silent. On the screen, a human soldier was sharing food with a Krexian warrior. The Krexians had been at war with humanity for 7 years. They had destroyed 3 human colony worlds. They had killed over 2 million humans. The humans had responded with equal force, wiping out Krexian outposts and military bases across an entire sector of space. And now, on a frozen moon called Theta 7, a human was giving his rations to a wounded Krexian soldier. "Play it from the beginning," said High Counselor Murathex, her voice thin and reedy through her translator device. The technician reset the video. It had been captured by a Federation scout drone 3 days ago. The drone had been sent to observe the battle on Theta 7, where human and Krexian forces had crashed into each other in a violent skirmish. The video began with chaos, explosions, gunfire, the bright flash of plasma weapons cutting through the cold air. Human soldiers in their heavy armor pushed forward against Krexian warriors in their black exoskeletons. Bodies fell on both sides. Then something went wrong for both armies. A massive blast from an orbital strike hit the center of the battlefield. It was unclear which side had ordered it. Perhaps it was a mistake. Perhaps it was desperation. Either way, the explosion killed most of the soldiers on both sides. The drone's camera panned across the destruction. Smoke rose from craters. Twisted metal and broken bodies lay everywhere. The temperature on Theta 7 was already 40 degrees below zero, and it was dropping fast as the sun set. Then the drone spotted movement. A human soldier crawled out from under a destroyed vehicle. His armor was cracked and smoking. One of his arms hung at a wrong angle. He pulled himself across the frozen ground, leaving a trail of blood behind him. 50 meters away, a Krexian warrior was also moving. The alien was in bad shape too. 2 of his 4 legs were crushed. His exoskeleton was broken open, revealing the soft gray flesh beneath. Green blood pooled around him. The human saw the Krexian. He stopped moving. The Krexian saw the human. He raised his one working arm, which still held a plasma pistol. The council members leaned forward. They expected to see a final act of violence between 2 dying enemies. Instead, the human raised his hand, palm open, a universal sign of peace. The Krexian hesitated. His pistol wavered. The human started crawling toward the alien. "What is he doing?" whispered Ambassador Velcrath. The human reached the Krexian. Up close, the council could see how badly both of them were injured. The human's face was bloody. His breathing was rapid and shallow. The Krexian's compound eyes were flickering, a sign of severe trauma. The human said something. The audio was damaged, but the translation software managed to capture fragments. "Not going to die out here alone, neither are you." The Krexian responded. His voice was harsh and clicking, the natural sound of his species. "Enemy should kill you." "Yeah, probably," the human said. He reached into a pouch on his belt and pulled out a small packet. "But I'm tired of killing. You hungry?" He held out the packet. It was a field ration, the kind human soldiers carried for emergencies. The Krexian stared at the offering for a long moment. Then, slowly, he lowered his pistol. "Cannot eat human food," the Krexian said. "Right, forgot about that." The human looked around the frozen battlefield. "Okay, let me think. You guys eat minerals, right? Rocks and stuff." "Crystalline compounds, yes." The human started crawling again, dragging himself toward a nearby crater. The Krexian watched him go, confusion clear even on his alien face. Several minutes later, the human returned. He was holding a chunk of frozen rock that sparkled with blue crystals. "Will this work?" he asked, holding it out to the Krexian. The alien examined the rock. Yes, this contains suitable nutrients. Great, the human dropped the rock next to the Crexian. Eat up, you need your strength. Why, the Crexian demanded, why help enemy? The human was quiet for a moment. He opened his own ration packet and took a small bite, chewing slowly. His face was pale from blood loss. I had a Crexian friend once, he said finally. Before the war, he was an exchange scientist on Earth. Nice guy, terrible at poker but nice. He taught me how to cook these spicy egg dishes from your homeworld. The human laughed weakly. When the war started, they shipped him back. I never saw him again. Don't know if he's still alive. The Crexian was silent. You guys aren't that different from us, the human continued. You have families, friends, people you love, people who are waiting for you to come home. He looked at the Crexian. Someone waiting for you. The Crexian's compound eyes flickered again, but this time it seemed like something other than pain. My clutchmate, 3 offspring, very young. See, same as me. I've got a wife, 2 kids, boy and a girl. The human pulled out a small device from his pocket. Even damaged, the screen lit up to show a picture of a smiling woman and 2 small children. Their names are Sarah, Tommy, and little Maya. The Crexian looked at the picture. Your offspring, they are small. Yeah, Tommy's 8, Maya's 5. They probably think I'm dead by now. The human's voice cracked slightly. Maybe I am, just haven't stopped moving yet. The 2 enemies sat in silence for a while. The Crexian slowly began to eat the crystalline rock, breaking off small pieces with his remaining good arm. The human ate his rations. The sun had set completely now. The temperature continued to drop. Both of them were going to freeze to death soon, and they both knew it. My name is Marcus, the human said. Marcus Chen, Sergeant, 3rd Infantry Division. The Crexian hesitated. Among his people, exchanging names with an enemy was a significant act. It meant acknowledging them as a person, not just a target. I am called Threxnel, he said finally. Warrior 3rd Hive Cluster 7. Nice to meet you, Threxnel. This is strange, the Crexian admitted. Meeting enemy, sharing names, sharing food. Yeah, well, Marcus shrugged with his one good shoulder. Humans are weird like that. We bond with things, dogs, cats, plants, robots, even people who are trying to kill us. He laughed again, though it came out more like a cough. My grandfather's best friend was a German soldier who shot him in World War II. They met again 20 years later and ended up drinking buddies. Went fishing together every summer until they died. Threxnel's translator struggled with some of the words, but he understood the meaning. Humans are illogical. Probably, but it makes life more interesting. The video continued to play. The council watched as Marcus and Threxnel huddled together for warmth, enemy soldiers sharing body heat to survive. They watched as Marcus wrapped his emergency blanket around both of them. They watched as the human told stories to keep the Crexian awake, knowing that sleep meant death in the freezing cold. And then, 12 hours later, they watched as a Federation rescue ship arrived, responding to the scout drone's emergency beacon. The medics on board were shocked to find a human and a Crexian clinging to each other, both barely alive, both refusing to let go. Ambassador Velkreth turned off the video. The council sat in stunned silence. Both survived, the technician reported. They are currently being treated at Federation Medical Station Gamma 12. Their injuries were severe, but they will recover. And High Counselor Murithex asked. And they have refused to be separated. The human, Marcus Chen, has insisted on being kept in the same recovery room as the Crexian, Threxnel. He claims they are friends now. Friends, Velkreth repeated. They were trying to kill each other 3 days ago. Yes, Ambassador. And now they are friends. Yes, Ambassador. The human has already taught the Crexian a card game called Go Fish. The Crexian is apparently quite good at it. The council members looked at each other. I think, said High Counselor Murithex slowly, that we need to learn more about humans. 3 standard weeks later, Ambassador Velcrath arrived at Medical Station Gamma 12 to conduct his investigation. The Federation Council had given him a simple mission: understand how humans could form bonds with their mortal enemies, and determine if this trait could be used to end the human-Crexian War. The medical station was a large orbital platform, staffed by doctors and nurses from a dozen different species. Velcrath made his way through the clean white corridors until he reached room 47. He paused outside the door. Through the window, he could see something that should have been impossible. Marcus Chen, the human soldier, was sitting up in his bed. His broken arm was now in a regeneration cast, and color had returned to his face. Across from him, in a specially modified bed designed for Crexian physiology, lay Threxnel. The alien's crushed legs were being slowly rebuilt by medical nanobots. Between them, floating on a small anti-gravity table, was a game board of some kind. They were playing together, laughing and arguing about the rules. "No, no, no," Marcus was saying. "You can't just move your knight like that. It has to go in an L shape, like this." "This game makes no sense," Threxnel clicked in response. "Why would a warrior move in such a pattern? It is inefficient." "It's not about efficiency. It's about strategy. You have to think ahead." "I am thinking ahead. I am thinking that this game is stupid." Marcus laughed. "You're just mad because I beat you 3 times already." "You cheated." "I absolutely did not cheat. You're just bad at chess." "Chess is a bad game for bad people." "Now you sound like my wife." Velcrath knocked on the door frame. Both of them looked up, their banter stopping immediately. "Ambassador Velcrath," Marcus said, recognizing the Federation insignia on his visitor's robes. "We've been expecting someone to come asking questions. Took you longer than I thought." "My apologies for the delay," Velcrath said, entering the room. His 4 eyes examined both patients carefully. "The Council has many concerns. This situation is unprecedented." "A human and a Crexian becoming friends," Marcus nodded. "Yeah, I guess it would seem strange to you." "Strange is an understatement, Sergeant Chen. Your species and the Crexian hive have been at war for 7 of your years. Millions have died on both sides. And yet, here you are, playing games with your enemy as if nothing happened." Marcus glanced at Threxnel. Something passed between them, some unspoken communication that Velcrath couldn't interpret. "He's not my enemy anymore," Marcus said simply. "He's Threx. He's got a clutchmate named Skira and 3 little ones waiting for him back home. He likes mineral deposits with high copper content because they're sweet. He thinks human music is too slow but likes our visual art. And he snores. Loudly." "I do not snore," Threxnel objected. "You absolutely snore. The night nurse complained twice." "That was digestive sounds. Crexians do not snore." "Sure, buddy, whatever helps you sleep." Marcus turned back to Velcrath. "My point is, Ambassador, that once you know someone, really know them, it's hard to hate them. Hate needs distance. It needs ignorance. It needs you to see the other person as a thing instead of a being." Velcrath pulled up a chair and sat down. "Please help me understand. On Theta 7 you were fighting, you were trying to kill each other. What changed?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. "You want the honest answer." "Please." "Nothing changed. I never wanted to kill Crexians. I wanted to protect my home, my family, my people. The killing was just the tool I was given to do that, but it was never the goal." He looked at Threxnel. "Was it ever your goal to kill humans?" Threxnel's compound eyes shifted. "No, I fight to protect the hive. Humans threaten the hive, so I fight humans, but killing is not." He struggled with the words. "Not satisfying, not right. It is necessary, or so I was told." "There you go," Marcus said to Velcrath. "Neither of us wanted this war. We were just following orders, doing what we were told, fighting for survival. But when it was just the 2 of us, dying on that frozen rock, the orders didn't matter anymore. The war didn't matter. All that mattered was that we were two people who didn't want to die alone. Velcrath considered this. But how did you trust him? He could have killed you. He could have, Marcus agreed. And I could have killed him. Neither of us did. That's trust, Ambassador. It's not knowing for certain that someone won't hurt you. It's giving them the chance to hurt you and believing they won't. Humans take that chance often. Marcus smiled. We take it every day. Every time we meet someone new, every time we fall in love, every time we make a friend. We're risking pain, betrayal, loss. But we do it anyway because the alternative, being alone and safe, isn't really living. The ambassador turned to Threxnel. And you, Warrior Third, do Crexians form bonds so easily? Threxnel took longer to answer. Crexians bond with the hive, family, clutchmates, offspring. These bonds are sacred, outsiders are. Not trusted, not accepted. He paused. But Marcus is different. He showed me kindness when there was no reason for kindness. He shared his food, his warmth, his stories. He treated me as hive. So you accepted him into your hive? I did not plan to, Threxnel admitted. It simply happened. When the rescue ship came, when they tried to separate us, I felt fear. Not for myself, for him. I did not want him to be alone. I did not want to lose my friend. His clicking voice became quieter. I have never had a friend outside the hive before. It is strange, but good. Good strange. Good strange, Marcus repeated, grinning. I like that. I'm going to use that. You cannot use it. It is a Crexian expression. Too late, it's mine now. That's how friendship works, buddy. What's yours is mine. That is not how friendship works. Sure it is. I'm the human here. I'm the expert on friendship. You are the expert on being annoying. Also true. Velcrath watched this exchange with growing amazement. The easy back and forth, the gentle teasing, the obvious warmth between them. If he hadn't known better, he would have assumed they were old companions who had known each other for years, not mortal enemies who had met less than a month ago. I have one more question, he said. Perhaps the most important one. Do you think this bond between you is unique, or could it be replicated? Marcus and Threxnel looked at each other again. You mean, could humans and Crexians be friends in general? Marcus asked. Yes, could this war end not through victory but through connection? Marcus leaned back in his bed. That's a big question, Ambassador. I'm just one soldier. I can't speak for all of humanity. And I cannot speak for the hive, Threxnel added. There are many who would see friendship with humans as betrayal. But, Marcus said slowly, if you're asking if it's possible, if humans and Crexians could find common ground, learn to understand each other, maybe even care about each other, he smiled. Yeah, I think so. We're not that different, really. We both love our families. We both want to protect our homes. We both fear death and treasure life. Those are the things that matter. Everything else is just details. Ambassador Velcrath stood. He had heard enough. Thank you both. This has been most enlightening. What are you going to tell the council? Marcus asked. Velcrath paused at the door. I am going to tell them that humans are perhaps the most illogical, unpredictable, and confusing species in the galaxy, and that this may be exactly what we need. He left the room, already composing his report in his head. Behind him, he heard the two former enemies resume their game of chess, arguing cheerfully about the rules. The council convened 3 days later to hear Ambassador Velcrath's report. Representatives from 47 species filled the great chamber, their various bodies adapted to the universal climate system that kept the room comfortable for all. Honored council members, Velcrath began, I have completed my investigation into the human-Crexian bonding incident on Theta 7. My findings are complex. He activated the holographic display at the center of the chamber. Images appeared, humans throughout history, forming bonds with the most unlikely creatures and beings. Humans have a unique psychological trait, he explained. They form emotional attachments to virtually anything. Their pets, their possessions, their vehicles. They name their ships and talk to their plants. They mourn broken machines and celebrate the birthdays of animals. This trait, which they call bonding, appears to have no limit on its targets. The council murmured. This was not new information, but it was strange to hear it stated so directly. What is new, Velcrath continued, is the discovery that this bonding extends even to their mortal enemies. Throughout their history, humans have repeatedly formed friendships with those they once fought. Ancient warriors from opposing armies became brothers. Soldiers from devastating wars became peaceful neighbors. Entire nations that nearly destroyed each other became close allies. He showed images from human history, former enemies shaking hands, war memorials visited by descendants of both sides, old soldiers embracing, tears in their eyes. At first, I believed this to be a weakness, Velcrath admitted, a flaw in human psychology that prevented them from properly hating their enemies. But now, I understand that it is perhaps their greatest strength. High Counselor Murthex leaned forward. Explain. Humans do not win wars through hatred. They win them through connection. Their ability to see personhood in their enemies, to recognize shared values and common ground, allows them to end conflicts that other species would fight forever. While we see eternal enemies, they see potential friends. While we build walls, they build bridges. He changed the display to show Marcus and Threxnel in their hospital room. These two soldiers from species locked in brutal war became friends in less than 12 hours. They shared food. They shared warmth. They shared stories of their families. And now they are inseparable, not because they forgot the war, but because they chose to look past it. But can this be replicated? Asked Counselor Drextel of the Vornian Collective. One friendship is touching, but it will not end a war. I asked the same question, Velcrath said. The human, Marcus Chen, told me something important. He said that hatred needs distance. It needs ignorance. It needs you to see the other person as a thing instead of a being. What if we reduce that distance? What if we fought ignorance with knowledge? He outlined his proposal: exchange programs, cultural events, shared spaces where humans and Crexians could interact outside the context of war. Not immediately, of course. The hatred was still too fresh, but gradually, carefully, they could create opportunities for connection. The humans have a saying, Velcrath concluded. They say that the best way to destroy an enemy is to make them a friend. I propose that we help them do exactly that. The debate lasted for hours. Many council members were skeptical. The Crexian hive had shown no interest in peace negotiations. The humans were preparing for another major offensive. Both sides seemed committed to war. But others saw hope in Velcrath's words. If one human and one Crexian could become friends, why not two? Why not 10? Why not thousands? In the end, the council voted to approve a small pilot program. They would identify humans and Crexians who showed signs of being receptive to cross-species friendship. They would create opportunities for these individuals to meet under controlled circumstances. They would see if bonds could be formed. Ambassador Velcrath was put in charge of the project. He accepted the responsibility with a mix of hope and fear. As he left the council chamber, his communicator buzzed. It was a message from Medical Station Gamma 12. Ambassador, you may want to see this. The human and the Crexian have made a video message. They want to send it to both their peoples. Velcrath hurried to a private viewing screen and opened the message. Marcus and Threxnel appeared side by side. Marcus was smiling. Threxnel's compound eyes were steady and calm. Hi, Marcus said. My name is Marcus Chen. I'm a soldier in the human military, or I was. I'm not sure what I am now. I am Threxnel, the Crexian added, Warrior 3rd of Hive Cluster 7, also uncertain of my current status. We recorded this message together because we want to tell you something important, something that might sound crazy. Definitely sounds crazy, Threxnel agreed. Marcus laughed. We want to tell you that humans and Crexians can be friends, real friends, not just allies of convenience, not just temporary truces. Friends who care about each other, who look out for each other, who would risk their lives for each other. I know this is difficult to believe, Threxnell said. 3 weeks ago I would not have believed it either. Humans were the enemy. They were dangerous. They could not be trusted. But then I met Marcus. And I met Threx. And we learned that everything we thought we knew about each other was wrong, or at least incomplete. Humans are not monsters, they are people. Strange people with soft skin and only 2 legs, but people. They love their families, they fear death. They tell bad jokes and cheat at board games. I don't cheat. You absolutely cheat. Anyway, Marcus continued, the point is we don't have to hate each other. We can choose something different. We can choose to see each other as people instead of enemies. We can choose to talk instead of fight. We can choose friendship over war. This is not easy, Threxnell admitted. There is much pain, much loss, many dead on both sides. These things cannot be forgotten. No, they can't. And we're not asking you to forget. We're asking you to do something harder. We're asking you to forgive, to move forward, to build something new instead of destroying something old. The 2 of them looked at each other, then back at the camera. We're not politicians or generals, Marcus said. We're just 2 soldiers who found friendship in the worst possible place. But if we can do it, so can others. We believe that. We have to believe that. Give peace a chance, Threxnell said. That is a human expression Marcus taught me. I think it is a good one. Give peace a chance, Marcus repeated. That's all we ask. The video ended. Ambassador Velcrath sat in silence for a long moment. Then he forwarded the message to the Council, to the Human Military Command, and to the Crexian Hive leadership. Whatever happened next, the galaxy would never be the same. The video went viral. Not just among humans and Crexians, but across the entire Federation. Within days, it had been viewed by billions of beings on thousands of worlds. It was translated into every language, discussed in every forum, debated in every political assembly. Some dismissed it as propaganda, others called it naive. But many others saw something in those 2 soldiers that they had never seen before: hope. On Earth, Marcus Chen became an instant celebrity. His face was on every news feed. His family was interviewed dozens of times. People held signs with his image at peace rallies, demanding an end to the war. In the Crexian Hive, the reaction was more complicated. Threxnell was considered by some to be a traitor, corrupted by human influence. But others, especially younger Crexians who had grown tired of endless war, saw him as a hero. Secret gatherings were held where Crexians discussed the possibility of peace. The military leaders on both sides were not happy. General Harrison Cole, commander of human forces in the sector, sent a furious message to Marcus demanding to know what he thought he was doing. Marcus replied simply, "Trying to end this war, sir. With respect, we're not winning the other way." The Crexian High Command sent a more threatening message to Threxnell. He was ordered to denounce his friendship with the human and return to active duty immediately. Threxnell refused. "I have found a better way to serve the Hive," he replied. "I will not go back to killing." For a while it seemed like nothing would change. The war continued. Battles were fought, people died. But something was different now. On both sides, soldiers began to hesitate. They began to see their enemies as people, not targets. They began to remember Marcus and Threxnell, huddled together on that frozen moon, choosing friendship over hatred. Small incidents began to occur. On the contested world of Horizon 3, a human patrol encountered a Crexian scouting party. Instead of opening fire, the human sergeant stepped forward with his hands raised. "Any of you seen that video?" he asked. "With the 2 guys who became friends?" The Crexian patrol leader nodded slowly. "We don't have to do this," the human said. "We can just walk away, tell our commanders we didn't see each other, go home to our families." There was a long, tense moment. Then the Crexian leader lowered his weapon. "Walk away," he agreed. Both patrols retreated without a shot being fired. Similar incidents happened elsewhere. Not everywhere, not always, but often enough to be noticed, often enough to matter. Ambassador Velcrath documented each case carefully. He compiled reports, gathered evidence, and presented it all to the council. "The phenomenon is spreading," he told them. "Humans and Crexians are choosing not to fight. They are seeing each other differently. The bond between Marcus Chen and Threxnel is not unique. It is simply the first. Others are following." "But the war continues," High Counselor Murithex pointed out. "Yes, because the leaders continue it. The soldiers are ready for peace. The people are ready for peace. It is only those at the top who cling to war." "Then we must change the minds of those at the top." Velcrath smiled. "I have an idea about that." The plan was audacious, perhaps insane, but it was the kind of plan that only humans could have inspired. Ambassador Velcrath proposed a summit, not between diplomats or generals, but between families. Human families who had lost members to Crexian attacks, Crexian clutch groups who had lost members to human offensives. They would meet face to face, share their grief, and perhaps find common ground. "You want to bring grieving people together?" General Cole demanded when he heard the proposal. "That's a recipe for disaster. They'll tear each other apart." "With respect, General," Velcrath replied, "I don't think they will. I think they will see in each other the same pain they feel, and I think that shared pain will become the foundation of understanding." "You're betting a lot on human nature." "I'm betting everything on human nature. It's the only thing that has ever ended wars." The summit was held on a neutral Federation station. 20 human families attended, along with 20 Crexian clutch groups. Security was heavy. Everyone expected violence. Instead, something extraordinary happened. A human woman named Sarah Vasquez stepped forward first. Her son had been killed in a Crexian attack 3 years earlier. She had spent every day since then consumed by grief and hatred. "I came here to look my enemies in the eyes," she said, her voice trembling. "I came here to make them see what they took from me. I came here to hate." The Crexians watched her silently. "But then I looked at you," Sarah continued, "and I saw parents, I saw families. I saw people who had lost children of their own, brothers and sisters, friends and lovers, and I realized." She stopped, tears streaming down her face. "I realized that my son's death didn't make your losses any less real. Your pain is just as valid as mine. We've all been suffering, all of us." A Crexian matriarch moved forward. Her translator clicked as she spoke. "I lost 2 offspring to human weapons. I dreamed of revenge. I dreamed of making humans feel what I felt." Sarah looked at her. "But now I see you, human mother. I see your tears, I see your grief, and I understand. You are not my enemy, you are my mirror, we reflect the same sorrow." The two of them stood facing each other, human and Crexian, united by loss. Then Sarah opened her arms. The Crexian matriarch hesitated for only a moment before stepping forward into the embrace. Around them, other families began to move. Humans and Crexians coming together, sharing their grief, crying together, holding each other. The security officers watched in amazement as their weapons became unnecessary. Ambassador Velcrath stood at the back of the room, tears in his own 4 eyes. He had believed in human nature, had bet everything on their capacity for connection and forgiveness. And he had been right. The summit lasted 3 days. By the end, human families and Crexian clutch groups had formed bonds that transcended species, transcended war, transcended everything that had kept them apart. And when they returned home, they brought those bonds with them. They told their stories. They shared their experiences. They showed their peoples that peace was possible. The war didn't end overnight. Nothing that significant ever happens that quickly, but the momentum had shifted. The killing continued to slow. The calls for peace grew louder. And through it all, in their hospital room on Medical Station Gamma 12, Marcus Chen and Threxnell continued to play chess, argue about the rules, and show the galaxy what friendship really meant. 6 months after the summit, the human and Crexian governments agreed to a ceasefire. It wasn't peace. Not yet. There were still too many wounds, too much distrust, too many people who clung to hatred, but it was a start. Marcus Chen and Threxnell were invited to the signing ceremony as honored guests. They stood together as the documents were executed, two former enemies who had become the symbol of a new possibility. Afterward, reporters surrounded them with questions. "Marcus, how does it feel to see your friendship inspire a ceasefire?" Marcus laughed. "Honestly, it feels weird. Threx and I were just trying to survive on that frozen moon. We didn't set out to change the galaxy. We just didn't want to die alone." "Threxnell, what do you say to Crexians who still see you as a traitor?" Threxnell's compound eyes shifted. "I say that I understand their anger. I felt the same anger once. But anger is a cage. It traps us in the past, prevents us from moving forward. I chose to leave my cage. I hope others will do the same." "What's next for you both?" Marcus and Threxnell exchanged a glance. "We've been talking about that," Marcus said. "The Federation has offered us jobs as cultural ambassadors. We travel around, meet with humans and Crexians, help them understand each other. Kind of like what we did by accident but on purpose." "It is strange work for a soldier," Threxnell added. "But I find I no longer wish to be a soldier. I wish to be a builder, someone who creates rather than destroys." "What he said," Marcus agreed. "We're done fighting, time to try something new." The reporters asked more questions, but Marcus and Threxnell had said what they needed to say. They excused themselves and walked away from the crowd, two friends from different worlds, heading toward an uncertain but hopeful future. Ambassador Velkreth met them outside the ceremony hall. "Congratulations," he said. "You've done something remarkable." "We didn't do anything," Marcus said. "We just talked and listened and tried to understand." "That is precisely what you did, and it is precisely what the galaxy needed." Velkreth paused. "The Council has asked me to extend an official invitation. They would like both of you to address the full Federation Assembly. Tell them your story. Help them understand how humans and Crexians found common ground." Marcus looked at Threxnell. "What do you think, buddy? Want to give a speech to the whole galaxy?" "I would rather eat rocks with low mineral content." "That's a no, then." "That is a strong no, but—" Threxnell sighed, a clicking sound that his translator rendered as resignation. "If it will help, I will do it. For peace." "For peace," Marcus agreed, "and for friendship." "You are very sentimental for a warrior." "And you're very grumpy for a diplomat." "I am not grumpy. I am appropriately serious." "Sure, buddy, whatever you say." They walked off together, still arguing, still laughing, still showing the galaxy what was possible when enemies chose to become friends. 2 years later, Ambassador Velkreth presented his final report to the Federation Council. The Human-Crexian War was officially over. Peace treaties had been signed. Trade routes were opening. Cultural exchange programs were flourishing. "It is my pleasure to inform the Council," he said, "that the Federation's greatest threat has become one of its most promising partnerships. Human and Crexian worlds are beginning to cooperate on scientific research, economic development, and social programs. Prejudice remains, as it always does, but it is fatting. Each generation is more accepting than the last." "And what of our two friends?" High Counselor Murithex asked. "Marcus Chen and Threxnell, what became of them?" Velkreth smiled. "They continue their work as cultural ambassadors. They have visited over 100 worlds, shared their story thousands of times, and inspired countless beings to look beyond their differences. Last month, they officiated a wedding between a human man and a Crexian female, the first such union in history. A human and a Crexian married. Yes, counselor. It seems that when humans bond with something, they really mean it. The council members made sounds of amazement and approval. But perhaps most significantly, Velkreth continued, Marcus Chen and Threxnel have remained the closest of friends throughout this entire journey. They live together now, in a house designed to accommodate both human and Crexian needs. Marcus's children call Threxnel Uncle Threx. Threxnel's offspring call Marcus Soft Uncle. They spend their evenings playing chess, arguing about rules, and proving every day that friendship has no limits. He paused, his 4 eyes reflecting the lights of the chamber. When I first witnessed their bond, I thought it was an anomaly, a strange quirk of human psychology unlikely to be repeated. I was wrong. The capacity for connection that humans possess is not an anomaly. It is a gift. And now it is a gift they are sharing with the rest of the galaxy. And the moral of this story, High Counselor Murithex asked. Ambassador Velkrath considered the question carefully. The moral, he said finally, is that hatred is easy but love is stronger. That walls can always be torn down if someone is willing to reach across them. That enemies are just friends who haven't met yet. He smiled. And that when the Federation realized humans bond with anything, including their own mortal enemies, we should have known that this was not a weakness to be studied, but a strength to be celebrated. Humanity, he concluded, does indeed make us say yeah. And perhaps, thanks to them, we will all learn to bond a little more freely ourselves. The council rose in applause. And somewhere on a distant world, 2 old soldiers sat on their porch, watching the sunset, arguing about whether the sky was more beautiful on Earth or on the Crexian homeworld. They never did agree, but then agreement wasn't really the point. Friendship was. And in that, they had succeeded beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen.